So we are going to talk about some of our anticipated games for 2017 as our closing segment of the show. Just a few, just briefly, nothing too crazy, but there are some, I think, pretty cool looking games, two of which we talked about at the top of the show.
I will say, actually, most of my list we have actually brought up on our show.
Huh.
Either in a news segment or as a Kickstarter.
That's interesting, because I think mine we haven't. Well, that's not true, actually. Maybe we have. Anyway, why don't you just go through your
I'm
whole
going to start
thing.
with my first one, and because it's on your list too.
Yeah.
The Seventh Continent. I'm pretty sure I brought this up as a Kickstarter because I backed it. In fact, spoilers, I actually backed a lot of my list.
It's an interesting thing when you know a lot of these games you know about because you've been told of them.
And
firsthand.
I mean, to me, this just sounded like Robinson Crusoe combining with more exploration with Mage Knight and magic and Cthulhu, like monsters kind of deal. So like it was just like everything I love. I'm just like, yes, give it to me.
Anything with that kind of storytelling aspect to it is exciting to me.
And I'm very excited to hopefully have it hit the table with us.
Do you want to just say all yours?
Sure.
I don't know why.
The next one, this one is probably on a lot of people's excited. Dark Souls.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And because I haven't played the video games. I'm gonna finally hit them. It was just a matter of just never getting to them, and I let the community ruin the game for me a little bit. But I think it looks really cool, and because I do think one of my things about the Dark Souls style, which many games do, Dark Souls just takes it to the very punishing extreme, of the idea of learning to memorize your opponent's moves, really. And the game captures that mechanic in the deck. And I really like that because it's really fun when you play those kinds of games and you think like, when you get to that point, when you're like, he's going to do a swing like this, so I know how to dodge like this so I can get that hit in.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that the game actually brings that mechanic in excites me a lot. So
it'll be a big one for sure. I'm sure, lots of people are looking forward to
that. This one, which actually you, I think, were the one who told me about it first, Deep Madness.
Right.
Which sounded really cool, sort of dark, and you're in underwater and monsters, but the fact that it sounds cool, the tiles can flip and start flooding, so the environment can change a lot more. Thought that sounded really cool.
Sort of a Mansions of Madness-esque.
Yes.
Tile exploring horror.
And going on with that Mansion of Madness tile-esque exploring, Lobotomy, I just think sounds really cool. You're pretty much in like a psych ward, but things aren't as what they seem, and you actually have a disorder or something that actually affects how you can play the game and stuff. And of course, there's different monsters and stuff. Like, of course, there's a Cthulhu one. But, well, I mean, madness. I mean, how can you not? But like, there's one that's like more like based on like horror, like Hockey Mask. I'm blanking on the killer.
Mike Myers, Friday the 13th.
Yeah, like
Halloween?
those, all those. And like one that like the two girls from The Shining, I think is one of the monsters and stuff. Like, so it has this really cool sort of horror mind. Like so the stuff we sort of want in our horror video games, but we don't get as much anymore. Oh, and obviously there's a Pyramid Head monster too. But now this one is actually steps a little bit from it's still miniaturist, but this is one I really want to play with you. And I know I brought this up a long time ago, but Indara. It's actually plays like Descent kind of, you're all heroes going in, but it plays like I'm blanking on the name. Oh, Tales of Arabian Nights, where there's actually a story and your choices will make change how you affect what can happen later on and stuff. And that's something I know you and I really love to see hit the table. And we're still trying to get the 8th Summit game, Agents of Smurf, but we just never get the time to.
Oh, right.
So I'm really excited for that to come out because I love that kind of style of in the book because the idea of making a choice is so much fun when you think you're like, oh, what should I do? Which, and you know what? The zombie game from Podhat sort of does, not to the same extent.
Dead of Winter?
Dead of Winter, like with the cards, especially once you get the app, when you can't see the answers.
Yeah. Does
and we really do like that mechanic. It's one of our favorites.
Yeah.
And finally, this one also is for us, but definitely for the Sherlock Holmes expansion. The Jack the Ripper and West End.
Right. Yeah, which is more Sherlock Holmes consulting detective stories.
Actually, I have one more on here. I just assumed it was the Sherlock Holmes title because I typed the whole thing and I thought it went over. The Attack on Titan game, which we thought was going to come out last year, but didn't.
Are we sure it's going to come out this year?
It was on the list you sent me, so we'll see.
We'll see about that.
But you can watch our video on it. We thought it was really cool, really fun, and we thought Very excited for that. But let's hear you.
I'm definitely looking forward to a lot of those, including the not only that Sherlock Holmes expansion, but they're also releasing Letters from Whitechapel expansion.
Like
Dear Boss.
Dear Boss, that's...
And because the Sherlock one is Jack the Ripper theme, that's why I bring it up. And there's a new standalone game called Whitehall, which is sounds like a Letters from Whitechapel sequel almost, where it's a different killer, and this time he's like spreading different body parts around that you have to find. Sounds real creepy, but big fan of those games.
I assume you realize that he's been taking organs to eat, and then you slowly discovered that this is just a Hannibal TV show.
Oh yeah, I do. Then there's First Martians, which is the new one from Ignacy Trzewiczek, and talking again about Robinson Crusoe. This has been billed as the Robinson Crusoe in space.
Yeah, we're both very excited for that.
It comes with, you use an app to play it, and they just talked about it comes with a ton of different scenarios, both standalone and 2 5-set campaign scenarios, which is awesome. So when
I was making my list, I know that was like the one thing I know that's on Jonathan's list. There's no way that's not.
Yeah, which was supposed to come out last year, but they delayed it to work on it more. So to me, that's a great sign.
Oh, I'm always fine with delayed for work.
Yep.
Because as long as I know it's coming, I'm fine. I'm very easy to please.
Delay it for work. Next one I just think is so interesting is Ultimate Werewolf Legacy. I'm actually very excited to see this because I feel like it's the first time there's going to be a legacy game
that isn't the obvious.
That doesn't require 2 hours of setup. So basically, it's a werewolf, but as you're playing, whatever happens each night can actually carry over to the next night. And you're actually meant to play it like one night at a time.
Game. Oh, one night at a time.
Because it's like one night. You're supposed to do it like that. Well, I mean, I don't know if they have chapters. I don't know how it's divided exactly. But
no, I mean, I can definitely see that. Especially, you could be like, well, because the seer was bitten by a werewolf or something, maybe that changes.
Yeah, and like they said, there's ways you can change moderators and stuff, so someone isn't always stuck being that person.
That actually is the one thing I'd be worried about, and that goes back to my dislike of. Excuse me.
Looking forward to that in 2017.
But like the 1v-all method. Especially if it's a story method, it sort of feel like it sort of sucks. You're locked into one.
Right. But so it sounds like that will be very interesting to see how they work around all that. Also looking forward to, this is kind of a gimme, but the legendary Buffy the Vampire Slayer sets.
Oh yeah. And of course, when they announce Legendary Transformers, because you're going to do that.
That will be at Gen Con this year. You heard it here first. We got the scoop. It's not real. We're making that up. Don't post that anywhere.
No. We call Buffy, and I also call Transformers. Therefore, Transformers must come out.
I agree. And finally, the one I'm probably most looking forward to, maybe besides First Martians, is the one I backed in Kickstarter, This War of Mine, which is based on the computer game. We've talked about it before, but big co-op, political, thematic, heavy kind of game. Sounds really right up my alley, the kind of thing that I'm going to love.
It seems, if you haven't guessed, that most of our games are very thematic heavy, as usual.
Yep, theme, story, all that kind of stuff. And there were a lot of other games that looked really cool. These are just a few that we liked. So definitely comment with the ones that you're looking forward to.
All mine were ones I backed, so I already knew them, so I'm already like, I know this is what I want.
Like Gloomhaven was one we both saw that's on the list, and a lot of other ones, yeah.